Hey, and welcome back to QSD. So, how much junk food do you eat? Go on, be honest, it's just you and me. I can't even hear you. Is it too much? Are you cutting down? Well, if your desire is for a longer health span and a shorter waistband, keep listening. And then at the end, I will add my usual overview of what I think. So, two large studies were just published by the BMJ, and surprise, surprise, they both found positive associations between the consumption of highly processed food and the risk of cardiovascular disease and death. But what counts as highly processed and how much? Well, examples of such food are packaged baked goods and snacks, fizzy drinks, sugary cereals, ready meals containing food additives, dehydrated vegetable soups, and reconstituted meat and fish products. These type of foods can contain combinations of high levels of added sugar, low quality fats, and excessively high salt, whilst providing little or no vitamins or fibre. And yet they are thought to account for around 25 to 60% of the daily energy intake of many countries. In the first study, researchers based in France and Brazil assessed potential associations between ultra-processed foods and the risk of cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease, conditions affecting the blood supplies of the heart and brain. From a study following just over 100,000 people with an average age of 43 who were followed for 10 years, a small time period for a relatively young group of people, and the results are quite startling. It showed that with just an absolute 10% increase in the proportion of ultra-processed food in the diet, it was associated with significantly higher rates of cardiovascular disease at 12%, coronary disease at 13%, and cerebrovascular disease at 11%. In contrast, the researchers found a significant association between unprocessed or minimally processed foods and lower risk of all reported diseases. So let's have a look at this second study. Here, researchers based in Spain evaluated possible associations between ultra-processed food intake and the risk of death from any cause, known as all-cause mortality. This study followed just under 20,000 university graduates with an average age of 38 for 10 years. Once again, quite a short period and very young subjects, and yet we still see stark evidence. The results showed that a higher consumption of ultra-processed foods of more than 4 servings per day was associated with a 62% increased risk of all-cause mortality when compared with lower consumption of less than 2 servings per day. In fact, it seems that for each additional daily serving of ultra-processed food, mortality risk relatively increased by 18%. It's what is called a dose-response effect. It should be noted though that both studies were observational, and so we cannot establish causality, and there is a possibility that some of the observed risks may be due to unmeasured confounding factors. But nevertheless, both studies did take account of well-known lifestyle risk factors and markers of dietary quality, and the findings back up other research linking highly processed food with poor health, such as higher risks of obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and some cancers. As such, both research teams say policies that limit the proportion of ultra-processed foods in the diet and promote consumption of unprocessed or minimally processed foods are needed to improve global public health, with a shift towards a greater emphasis on promoting the availability, affordability, and accessibility of unprocessed or minimally processed foods. And I don't think anyone would argue with that. And what could I possibly add to this? Let's see. Does anybody even question this? Does anybody honestly not know that massively processed food full of salt, low-grade oil and sweeteners of whatever description is not good for your health? Really? Do you live in a flipping cave? Is this another one of those climate change, flat earth vaccines type thing where everybody just ignores the facts? Okay, let us break this down. Salt. awesome stuff, essential to life. But in some ready meals and processed foods, you could quickly fly past the recommended daily amounts in one meal. And oil or fat, essential part of your diet in good sources such as olive oil, avocados and oily fish. But cheap oils used in processed food are no good whatsoever and have been shown to be harmful after being heated, and that is just on their own, never mind when combined with the sugars and simple carbs that are chock full in these foods. As for sugar, from fruit to honey to sugarcane, we have had a sweet tooth throughout evolution. Quick, fast calories in a world where the next meal may be days away and there might be a tiger chasing you. But that ain't today anymore. Food is no longer so scarce, we rarely have to run for our lives. Well, lucky ones anyway. And sugars, along with simple beige carbs, spike the insulin levels in the blood, and we are now starting to appreciate the damage that sustained insulin levels do over the long term. So, well, yeah, do what you want, but if you want to enjoy the later years and not die young, more fresh food and less over-processed food is the way to go. And you should probably exercise a bit and sleep properly and meditate and chill out more and have more you time.